was there. Also, if we go down to Durham, Grant Hill was now a senior. So now instead of being Christian Leitner and Bobby Hurley's team, now it was Grant Hill's team. And they had a pretty good team. They had Grant, they had Antonio Lang, they had Jeff Capel. Who remembers Jeff Capel? Jeff Capel was a freshman. Eric Meek, Chris Collins. So they had a pretty good team down at Duke as well. So going and looking at the tournament, a memorable play from that Marquette game, they beat Marquette in the Sweet 16, was the Grant Hill dunk over Jim McIlvaine. We were talking about that years afterwards. Jim McIlvaine was a 7-footer at Marquette. Jim McIlvaine got drafted by the Sonics, the Seattle Supersonics, got paid a lot of money, and I think that's what made Sean Kemp salty that Jim McIlvaine got paid a lot of money. But anyway, Grant Hill dunked over Jim McIlvaine. And then Grant Hill's Duke team met up with Glenn Robinson's Purdue team in the regional final. And they beat the Purdue Boilermakers to advance to the Final Four. One of the plays of that game, there's Grant Hill and Glenn Big Dog Robinson. The memorable play from that game was the Jeff Capel behind the back pass to Antonio Lang for the dunk. And that might have been the furthest that one of Gene Cady's teams ever got in the NCAA tournament. And that was a memorable matchup. Purdue also had Quanzo Martin and Matt Waddell. So that was a good tournament. So Duke advanced to the Final Four to play Florida, and Arizona advanced to the Final Four to play Arkansas. This was all in Charlotte. And if you guys recall, Bill Clinton attended that game. Bill and Hillary attended. Might have been the national final against between Arkansas and Duke. But Arkansas eventually wore down Arizona, beat them 91-82. And then I remember Khalid Reeves getting worn out in that game. And then the second game was very, very exciting. I remember that the second game, because the way they marketed it was CBS was very clever. And what they did was they put together this thing where Lon Kruger said, "Hello, America. I'm Lon Kruger, the other Coach K." And I thought it was hilarious. He said, "Hello, America. I'm Lon Kruger, the other Coach K." So you had Coach K against Coach K. So Florida came out and they fought Duke toe to toe for that entire 40 minutes. And in that first half, Andrew DeClercq came down and he dunked on Antonio Lang, and he went like that. And that was a big deal because he dunked on Antonio Lang, and you say, okay, this team is athletic enough and they're strong enough to beat Duke. And as the game went on in the second half, Duke showed their experience. Duke pulled away, much to my chagrin at the time, though I was starting to root for Duke at that time because I liked Grant Hill. And Grant Hill during that tournament, he started showing his he was really, as the senior leader of that team, Grant Hill was really able to show his versatility, and he was arguably the best player on the 92 championship team. In the final game, and this game is on YouTube, if any of you guys want to go back and watch it, but the final game between Arkansas and Duke, it was a thing of beauty. It was back and forth. It was a fast-paced game. It was played the way Nolan Richardson probably wanted to play the game. And there was a lot of shots raining in from three-point range. Grant Hill was hitting threes. Chris Collins was hitting threes. Everybody was a thing of beauty. The game came down to, but as Arkansas did that throughout the tournament, eventually Duke started to wear down. And the game came down to this shot right here by Scotty Thurman over Antonio Lang, the outstretched arm of Antonio Lang. You see everybody. This is cool because you can see everybody watching. Chris Collins is watching. You got Clint McDaniel down there in the paint. You got Grant Hill, Corliss Williamson, Corey Beck, Jeff Capel, Cherokee Parks. They all know the game is hinging on this shot. And Scotty Thurman hit a good shot. It went over Antonio Lang, and it went into the cylinder form, and Arkansas went on to win that game. And Bill Clinton and Hillary, they celebrated up there in the luxury box. And afterwards on Sports Illustrated, the Sports Illustrated cover, it read "Hog Heaven." Hog Heaven. So that was kind of cool. I have a comment here. It's always good to see Duke lose. You know, Abdul, again, I started gaining respect for Duke at that time. And it could have been just because I didn't like Christian Laettner at that time, that I couldn't stand him. But during that run, when Grant Hill led the team, I started gaining respect for them. Hey, Abdul Gaines, remember Joe Baumgartner from our class? I used to tease him. I used to call him Coach K. And he knew that I was rooting for Kentucky and Rick Pitino, and he called me Coach P. So we had that little rivalry going on. But I started gaining respect for Duke at that time. So the other thing that stands out to me, we only have 2 more tournaments to go, guys. And I want to thank everyone who's hung in here for this one. That was the first time I really saw the bond between player and coach. After that loss, Coach K just wasn't, and Grant Hill, they weren't just dejected about the loss. But I remember Coach K saying, you know, the hard part about all this is that I'm not going to get to coach Grant anymore. Grant's not going to be coming to practice. I'm losing Grant. And Grant arguably could have gone pro after his sophomore year. He probably could have gone pro after his junior year. But in that era, some of those guys liked the college experience, and some of those guys stayed. And that stood out to me after that tournament, was that that sadness between coach and player about the fact that Grant would no longer be in the Duke program. Abdul Gain says, yeah, I think I remember him. I hope they don't make the tournament this year.